a lot of Reinhardt shields. So, yeah, again, and with the combo with that Zarya, we talked about it last night. If the Tracer has a good fight, if the defense holds and you know, has a dominant victory there and they can go for a second fight on the point, then it's going to be likely that at least that pulse bomb's ready, so you can at least get a free kill or set up an insta-win with a Graviton Surge if Midnight's done his work. So Tracer does so much more than just offer you the flanking and, you know, frustration potential in the back. It's the element of the wombo combo you can bring just to win a fight automatically. That is so important.
It also might be an anti-strat for Luminosity because they've liked running Zen Ana on offense on this map, and Tracer is so good against them, so maybe it will force them into Lucio Ana.
All right, so defensive Rise is set right now. They will be running the defensive Tracer. Midnight here in the back on Zarya. Midnight, of course, one of the bigger parts of this Rise Nation team when they were doing well yesterday. And you take a look at the offense of LG as they come in right now. Not wasting too much time, looking for the early hook. And it looks like they're just going a little bit too far deep, but with Ube getting that first hook on the Spirit, they're starting things off pretty well here.
Yeah, putting a bit of pressure on Dretzy now as well. He needs to do work. They've lost their Roadhog. It was Hira now as well falling on the side of Luminosity. So that's a little bit of pressure being relieved, and this is what I was talking about. Retzi, 2 kills in this fight. No one is really there to stop him. Spirit obviously wants to try and hook him in, but has been struggling to do so. So Ube, should I say, on that Roadhog, but he's got other things to worry about. With the important kills picked up by the Tracer, Retzi now is going to win his team to fight. He and Midnight now have about 85% of their ultimates as well. So that's a huge start here for Rise.
And the interesting thing about Rise and how they can set this up here is that there's not a whole lot that can apply pressure to the Retzi. There is Ube with hooks, but if Ube is spending time trying to hook Retzi, if he goes to the back line, he's not going to be able to get the high-value hooks on the front line of Rise. So, and you look at how Retzi's positioning right now, he is going towards the back. He's splitting the attention going in. Graviton is already out here by Midnight. Big Bang combo early in the game, and that's going to take out Ana and really let Rise push us back.
Yeah, not quite enough to catch onto Ube as well, and that Earth Shadow not quite connecting. The shield was up there for Super Fluke, and was able to protect his team. They go for the disengage, but Ube is pulled into his demise. Retzi there as well, playing quite forward, just tucking in under the statue to get a little bit more health. But ZP, it definitely feels like Rise, you know, they're easing into this, and they're solidifying somewhat now with some ultimates, but Luminosity have a bit of their own now to bring. 2 defense ultimates, and of course, the Earth Shadow.
LG definitely has a window here, especially if Super Fluke can get in. You're going to see him probably go pretty aggressive here, and he does just that. Nano boosted with the charge, and he immediately gets Desro. 3 unanswered kills, 4 unanswered kills here for the side of LG, and that's what they needed. They initiated with their ult advantage and got the point, so it worked out, and there wasn't too much that could have been done there from the defensive end, short of just backing up and expecting that engage to be coming in.
Yeah, look, if you're playing up against a Tracer, if you can burst the enemy team down, if you do have ultimate advantage, normally the Tracer's not a problem because, you know, the rest of the teammates are already taken out. You don't sort of have to worry about it. She's not doing enough damage on her own, and she can't harass when she's on her own there. So you really want to be able to burst through a team there, and then the Tracer can't have time to be effective. But now, Retzi is hoping to get behind him. He does have a pulse bomb. Midnight's a long way from grab, so it might just be the pulse here. His hooks are coming in. He then gets caught up there. Doesn't quite make the great escape, though.
He does not make the great escape. He also ends up being Midnight even more Zarya charge to start things out here. And Retzi right now, he's on a mission, just looking for the right opportunity to drop down, get the pulse bomb, and stagger the offense even more. And this is a pretty aggressive defense coming out here from Rise. And if you stop and think back to when they really started making a name for themselves, they were more aggressive in those teams. And it feels like more of a return to form. But here comes Retzi coming in from the back, looking for the pulse bomb stick, looking at the Ana, not able to get it. Pulse bomb goes awry. And now Rise is going to have to win this more on a basic front. But Ube gets hooked out by Spirit while he's looking for Retzi.
Yeah, Super Fluke now has to respond as well. That's a very weird self-destruct, and they're placed in a weird spot. Super Fluke self-destructs in his own and team's lines, and well, it's pretty easy for Rise to actually avoid that one there, so maybe a mistake. Maybe it hit the payload as he was trying to go over the top of it. But regardless, it results in a fight lost here for Luminosity. Still, I have to say, Rise picked a very good opening there, ZP. If you noticed that while Ube was trying to get the damage with a whole hog, he just stepped too far forward of Super Fluke's shield for just 1 second, and that was enough for Spirit to hook him in and start the fight at a man advantage for Rise Nation.
And that's a scary thing when you're up against a Roadhog. You really do have to be behind your Reinhardt at most times when the hook is off cooldown. But next fight here is in right Midnight. Get charged right in with the Sound Bear again. Pull in 2 with that Graviton, and it sets up Desro beautifully. Just swinging the hammer in the middle. It will go down, but the damage has been done, and Rise should be able to pull this back in their favor.
Yeah, I felt here getting the nano boost. It was enough actually to burst through Spirit while he was trying to take a breather. But unfortunately, it's just one D.Va. Not much you can do with Midnight charged up as he is. That defense matrix isn't going to block any of the charged particle cannon laser. but it will still need to be a retreat here. You do need to bear in mind that Rise Nation are a lot further away from their spawn than Luminosity, and they can't stay and have, a back and forth fight. If they trade 1-for-1, they're losing out this far away from their spawn.
And LG right now is coming in with a very substantial advantage. You gotta expect a Graviton self-destruct combo coming in here. Spree's gonna be looking for this, and this is a case where, unless they can distract them, this is gonna be terrible. And here comes Graviton coming in. Pulls in Ube and Desro. Self-destruct coming in over the top. Does not really connect. Self-destruct was not what he was looking for, and this opens a door for potentially a defense on Rise. 5v5 right now on the card.
I'm not sure what Icebot's trying to do with these self-destructs, CP, I'll be honest with you. He's traditionally a DPS player, but not landing those self-destructs at all. But Ube, hard to miss those rockets coming in from the barrage. Gets himself to Retzi, able to connect with the pulse pistols on that Pharaoh in mid-air, but it's a little bit too late in the day, and it will just be Retzi now trying to evade death. But eventually it comes for all of a CP, and that payload getting close to the point. No chance for a recontest here from Rise.
One thing I think that's really worth noting here for this Rise defense is that even though there's been consistent progress made by the offense, it's been a slow progress. Rise Nation has done a wonderful job of burning time off the clock, and now if they can just put together a stronger defense on last, they only have to hold here for 2.5 minutes here, so they still have a good chance at this. That said, next fight is underway. Midnight going in, gonna drop the Graviton, pulls in both supports.
Oh, he's put to sleep though. He puts Midnight to sleep. The Zarya from Rise was hoping to deal with both supports on his own, but he gets a sleep dart into the perfect time. It keeps their backline alive. However, Spirit gets the whole hog. 2 kills from that one. Retzi on towards the McCree now, making it happen up against Ube, countering him out particularly. And then Retzi able to stay alive long enough to deal with Spree there. So Rise Nation managed to get back in control. That fight could have gone either way after Midnight was put to sleep though.
It really could have, and the thing about that is that Midnight, even though he grabbed both supports, he had to go so far deep that the immediate fall through wasn't quite there. It wasn't a bad opening, but it also wasn't necessarily as good as we've seen him get. Next fight, though, will be underway. Soundbearer up and at the ready for the offense. Defense is gonna have to hold on with the Earth Shatter, and Desro drops the hammer, gonna knock down 2, but has to worry about the nano boost right on instead. Gets taken out by the tank line, and it's a late sound barrier coming out here from Rise. I don't know if they're gonna get as much of this as they want, as they're still bleeding out players.
Very late in the day there, the Earth Shatter didn't connect on towards Super Fluke, and the hook coming in wasn't actually enough to take the nano boosted Reinhardt out of action. And now Luminosity gonna be barreling down towards the finish line, and Desro just gonna have to charge on towards his point. There's really no other choice. Payload gets there, Earth Shatter blocked out by Desro, but no lock, and Faz actually got it caught there, so Desro was on his own on the point. That's not gonna be enough at all, and Luminosity get it along the line. ZP, you did say it was a little bit of a slow burn, a slow push there for Luminosity, but still a minute or so left in the time bank now. Not too shabby.
No, not at all. And I think for Rise Nation, they can be proud of their defense up until last. I feel like they definitely messed up in terms of initiations on last. Midnight, of course, a Graviton fight that they won, but they didn't win as decisively to actually build up ults for the rest of their team. And certainly how that last fight went down, where they ended up using Soundbearer after they lost someone, over-engaged into Luminosity, and ended up chaining deaths that led to a situation they couldn't recover from.
And ZP, we've seen Midnight sort of forge quite deep in towards enemy backlines on multiple occasions, and Rise is a team who will actually give him the nano boost when he's fully charged. Do you think he's being a little bit too aggressive? Do you think maybe this Zarya could play a little bit more passively and with the rest of the team?
It's hard to say. I mean, on one hand, it's a strategy that we've seen them get a lot of value off of, where Midnight was building Gravitons almost every fight yesterday. The problem is that if he goes too aggro and doesn't get support, it's a very, very bad look, where his team is almost certainly going to lose the next fight. So, to some degree, it's a high-risk, high-reward strategy. I don't know if it's really working out too much against LG here on the whole. They might be better off just pulling it back a bit. But it's one of those things where it could go either way depending on the fight.
Well, you know what they say, ZP, fortune favors the bold. And when you're Zarya, sometimes a bit of charge goes a heck of a long way. But Rise actually playing with, at the moment, an identical composition to what they used on defense. We'll see if they stick to this, but they've been using that just single flanking tracer with, a lot of tanks in the middle just to try and make something happen here. No 2-2-2 we've seen from them yet, but perhaps they just haven't needed to go there, ZP.
Certainly they don't feel the need to. Spirit was able to get the better of Ube more often than not in that last round, so I think he's confident being on the Roadhog. If it went the other way around, maybe we'd be seeing him on the Reaper right now, then just try and win that. I did like when Rise went for better combos where you just had Reaper behind the Reinhardt rather than going for flanks. I thought it was a decent look from them yesterday. Would like to see more of it, but for now, if they feel they can win the Roadhog v Roadhog, I think they'll stay on this and hope that Retzi can create some openings in the back.
I guess Luminosity aren't diving, so maybe they don't need that approach, but now they're going to go straight through the hotel, try and get a flank around the back. The first hook is going to be the most important one here. Oh, it's a biotic grenade, and Desro's not going to be able to stay alive through that one. Block desperately trying to back away, but Retzi gets himself 2 quick kills. A very big turnaround in the fight. Luminosity weren't looking for the Tracer, and they sure as hell didn't find it until there was a pulse pistol rammed up their rear end, and out of the ice felt totally now as well. Rise Nation take the point nice and quick.
And that's a dilemma you have when you're facing a Tracer like Retzi, where on one hand you don't want your focus to be entirely diverted by her because then you're going to be giving Spirit very high quality hooks, but if you ignore her and she gets right up in the face of your supports or your tanks, she does an enormous amount of damage. So it is a catch-22 for LG in figuring out how they want to handle this, but we do have the defensive Pharah coming out into play now.
Ube again, the ping, obviously going to be on that Pharah, not on Roadhog here, which is interesting. But I guess a little bit annoying to play up against Tracer. But now, Luminosity don't actually have anything to deal with that. There's no hook or no other sort of CC to deal with flankers, so we need to see if there's another solution. I think a fight's brewing right now, ZP. Desro moving forward up with the shield. Ice not going to go in with the charge. Fight is on.
And Ube right now coming in over the top, but no real answer for him just yet. Going in very deep, not really getting the kills he's looking for as Midnight gets to the flank, drops a Graviton, and sets up the rest of his team. That's going to be 4 kills here from Midnight. Spirit with the whole hog fall through, just cleaving through, and it feels like the defense there, they went a little bit too far in and they weren't able to get an early pick, and it really just turned around them when Midnight caught them off guard.
Okay, if you give Tracer a good fight, if she wins a fight and your Zarya is doing good enough, you're probably eventually going to have to deal with that combo, right? You need to accept that, but you can avoid that by dealing with the Tracer and proactively countering it, going for something to remove her from the picture. But that was an auto lose, and it always is going to be with that big bang combo. Now, we do need to see Luminosity come back and respond. A bit of a better self-destruct coming out here. This one might actually stick and gets on towards Midnight. Good start from Icefeld. Locke actually managed to avoid that one. He's desperately trying to keep his team healthy.
I'll note that we do have the swap off here, the McCree. Retzi going to McCree in response to that Pharah, immediately taking down Ube, able to put this fight back to a 5v5. Somewhere out from Rise, and Rise feels they can take this. Everyone is dropping the beat right now as they look for the all-port first kill. And the Graviton being used here by the side LG, that's going to let them fish out the fight at a cost of a little bit more resources.
Yeah, and a much better fight from Icefeld there as well. The engage got rid of the Zarya. Not only does that mean Midnight's out of the fight, but he's not charging up another Graviton surge. That's crucial. That's how you just take precautions going into the later stage of the round, should I say, just to know you're not going to get completely dumpstered by a wombo combo. Now he's almost got 76%, so he used his ult in the last fight. He's almost up to it yet again. That's very, very good for Luminosity. It's a great counter engage as well against Rise Nation, who are going to be very aggressively coming forward because they have to.
And the other thing, too, about the street space here is that you don't always have an area you can duck into. Sometimes the D.Va self-destruct can be in a place where it's just going to kill you. Icefeld, though, getting hooked in. But while that's going on, Ube comes in over the top, is taken out by Retzi. And Retzi now will be able to put in pressure on McCree. Doesn't have to worry about the Pharah anymore. Can just worry about getting in on the supports and getting in on the tank if Reinhardt isn't careful. Because, of course, there is always that dynamic where Reinhardt has shield up, can get flashed over the top, then he gets hooked, then he's out of the fight.
And Ube realizes he's going to struggle a little bit up against Retzi's McCree, so he's switching to Mei, the first Mei we've seen in quite some time actually here, hoping for more control. It might mean Luminosity wants to get a little bit more aggressive and up in the face. That's not a bad Earthshatter from Desro there as well, but doesn't really seem to have the intended effect. Ube drops to Retzi, self-destruct in the middle of the fight, that claims Spirit. Super Fluke buys Desro, they're right up on the payload, he's got himself a nano boost, but Midnight wants to burn it down. Aggressive positioning from this Zarya here. Midnight realizes he has to back away. He's got a biotic grenade dropped on his head.
And Retzi there, he went for the flank on McCree, but that's so incredibly risky when you have both a Zarya and a D.Va in the game, because what can happen is that if either of them dive you, it's not great for McCree, especially as you're trying to charge up a Deadeye. And Luminosity going very deep here, but losing Spree, I feel like they could regret this a little bit. This is going to let Rise come back up with their full team, and who knows if Spree is even going to get back in time. If he does, it's going to be close, and his Graviton is going to be far more rushed than it otherwise would be, rather than having, say, a flanking Graviton, which he's been so effective with.
And you can see Rise there were hoping to try and capitalize on the fact that Spree was already dead. They didn't have the engage though, so they sort of just ran, you know, aggressively in the direction of Luminosity. But Luminosity have to fight here. This is the checkpoint. Now they're going to come forward. Graviton only catches Desro, and Super Fluke gets caught in Midnight. So it's just a 1-for-1 in terms of Graviton catches. But the fight is looking better so far, except for the fact that Spirit's kind of caught in the mix, and Icefeld is just churning away at him. Even so, Spree going to fall down now, and we're going to see Icefeld heading up for self.
And again, this goes back to the damage that was done when Spree went too far out and got picked off. That Graviton, not a very high quality one. He had to just run into the fight and look for anything to start with because of how close the payload was the second. If he had more time to set up, if he wasn't taken out, he would have most likely gotten a much better Graviton, and that fight couldn't have gone a different way.
And Icefelt whiffed his self-destruct. He actually sent the suit straight up to self-destruct it, but it landed on the causeway above, which means that, you know, it broke line of sight to everyone else. So no one was actually going to get killed by that at all. It did absolutely nothing. Desro almost gets knocked off the edge here, and a pulse bomb thrown in the middle for God knows what reason. It's going to be a wall lap, and Desro seems to be caught. A blitzer to follow up here for Ube, catching a lot of people here on the side of Rise in the middle of it. Spirit included. He surely will have to await his ultimate demise here. And Desro trying to stay alive, but it's going to be a struggle. No! Retzi comes in with two himself, and Desro keeps swinging the hammer. Very brave of him, but he had the backup of Retzi, and now Rise Nation in a good position to get very close to the end here with a better time.
And Rise, they had a very big ult advantage going into that fight. The Blizzard from Ube probably bought LG a decent amount of time here to at least make a last stand, but look at Retzi right now, still in the back line, almost has Pulse Bomb up and at the ready, and he's waiting for support. He wants to get in on the Ana or the Lucio as the engagement goes on. Gonna force out the Sound Barrier immediately to save the Ana, and look at the rest of Rise. They're backing up. They haven't given up any kills to the Sound Barrier, and no one is on Retzi right now. Still has his Rewind, still has the Pulse Bomb, and will escape to the rest of his team. He's bought an enormous amount of distraction, but the Earth Shatter coming in here won't be enough. It does set up Icefelt for 2 kills, and LG looking like they'll survive at least one more push.
Really nicely done by Superclock there as well. And I mean, if you just watch Man of Snow stream tonight, he talked about this. As a Reinhardt, you need to know that your Earthshatter proc's about 2 meters in front of you. So all Superplu did was walk forward so that, you know, his shield was face to face with Desro's, and the hammer from his ultimate comes down behind Desro's shield, even if he has it up. And they managed to catch 2 players there on the side of Rise and ultimately win the fight.
What could be the final value push coming out here from Rise Nation? Midnight going to backline. Grauton is in. He picks up everyone. Desro into the fray, swings the hammer. 2 kills here thus far. Everyone highly damaged on this LG side. But here comes the D.Va self-destruct in and out. Reinhardt shield gonna keep everyone safe. And it's gonna be Icefelt versus the world as Rise Nation now swarming onto the payload after a beautiful engage.
Yeah, and we see the Earthshatter coming down on Icefelt. It's well timed. The D.Va gets an Nano Boost, but no chance to use it. Constantly being knocked to the ground. It was an Earthshatter, then a Sleep Dart. Now Midnight has his own Nano Boost, and we know Rise like to play into this. But it's not him doing all the damage right now, it's Retzi as per usual. He's behind, he's getting the needles right in. It's very, very hard for Luminosity to stick around, but Hedon jumps in.
Eden right now just trying to buy time stall-wise, but too many people have fallen, and it's going to be Rise Nation staying alive here on King's Row. Still, though, a pretty substantial time difference between the 2 teams here, Uber.
Yeah, I had to say so. Look, honestly, I definitely think Luminosity are looking quite strong. I think they're looking strong. Not sure. Little bit back and forth, and I am going to have to call, you know, Icefeld's D.Va into question a little bit here. Look, this guy is traditionally a hit scan player, very, very good McCree and Reaper player especially, but his D.Va, he's not really connecting these ultimates where he needs to. We see some teams that can be so proficient at a ZP when they engage with the ultimate. They throw it right at the enemy team, give them no choice but to disengage or die. But in some cases, we're seeing Icefeld go for late fight ultimates, sort of just trying to win on pure damage instead of forcing positions, and sometimes they're just not working out at all.
No, not in least. And more to your point here, Hex brought this up yesterday when talking about the idea that some teams, they throw people on D.Va because they feel they need to, not because they have a good D.Va player. And that's dangerous compared to just playing to your strengths. Now, one thing I do want to pose to Slasher here before we get started here, we only have 20 seconds, but given that Rise Nation did have a much better early defense, even though Rise Nation is behind on time, do you think that they might have a slight edge here if their early point defense is indeed more solid?
Maybe. I mean, Tracer is a very good pick with Retzi here. Tracer's shown to be pretty good against quad tank and triple tank lately, and him being on it was a big reason they held on so long defense last time. But even with Icefelt on D.Va, maybe not hitting his ults, just the presence of him on D.Va, I think, is what's giving them the edge so far.
All right. Retzi right now was looking to go in around the high ground, gonna have to take the low ground instead, but still drawing some attention back. Now they know he's back there, they have to worry about that, but here's the response. They're gonna dive right into this Rise team and try and initiate while Retzi isn't on them. Doesn't quite work out as well as they want. They lose the Ana, and anytime you lose an Ana early, it goes from bad to worse. Ube trying to pull this back, gets a hook on the Retzi, but the fight's still very close.
Roadhogs have been all over this fight. I think 5 or 6 kills have been just from Roadhogs, but Ube's winning out. He gets a hook on towards Faz, and that will pretty much clean things up here. Quite comfortably, it will mean Rise have to go again, and they only have 20 seconds, EP.
This is their final attempt to take this point and go for that crazy payload overtime rush. Retzi comes in from the high ground right now, looking for that early opening. Will get a pulse through his fire. Oh, what a hook from Ube! Shuts him down immediately, and that might have been game-winning from LG.
That's what you need to do if there's a Tracer in the mix. Get the hook and pull her out. Spirit trying to come forward here, but he's completely isolated from the rest of his team. Faz trying to get in there, of course, on the Lucio, just to mess with Super Clock, but he doesn't care. He's busy dealing with the bigger fish to fry, and our Spirit is forced to try and whole hog just to try and deal with Lock, but it's not going to be enough there. He falls down, Spree picks him up, Retzi back on the point here, so is Faz, but he's surely not long for this world. Desbro, it's desperate. He's got himself up on the point. He may soon be on his own. All he can do is put up his shield as Icebolt gets the nano boost.
Well, this is interesting, though. Desro's been stuck out for a long time here. Lives long enough for Locke to get back to the fight. Gets the nano boost. This is not over yet. Desro looking for the charge. Nails it on the Diva and finds Ana. Not going to survive that axing down. As now, Rise Nation potentially bringing this back, and an opportunity lost here from the side of LG that finishes out cleanly.
Yeah, they do get a sound barrier though, and Spree is back in the fight, so they're getting reinforcements here, even though it is a long walk. But Super Fluke falls. Desro finds it with a swing of the hammer, and now he's looking for Mineral. Retzi falls down to Spree. That's the Tracer v Tracer battle being resolved. The Mineral and Ice Skull trying to stand up from this point. Spree's the last one there, though, just trying to dash in and out of it there, but he is eventually taken down. And finally, it seems as if good positioning has been achieved here for Rise on the point.
And that was so unfortunate for LG. LG had the game in their hand. They weren't able to finish off Desro and Faz. They did a great job of staying alive on the point. They bought time for Locke to get back, and it went downhill from there. And let me just say that the fact that Desro didn't die there is a little bit crazy. What's crazier is that he just spun around on the point, swinging his hammer in circles, and picked up far, far too many kills.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a Reinhardt in the midst is something you don't respect enough. And remember how much you can cleave for. It is ridiculous amount of damage available. But look at this, Luminosity are mad. They want to shove them off this point here, and they start by dealing with Desro. Locke not far behind either, and Spree's running riot around this fight. Midnight, not really much he can do here except maybe just try and stall. It is overtime here. He needs to wait until the rest of his team there, but it might not be enough time. Desuited, taken down, now they're going to push forward. That will be Luminosity putting a stop to the shenanigans. But Rise Nation get that first point. That's another extra bit of pressure now on towards Luminosity, who need to at least replicate that, if not do better.
And the interesting thing about that interesting thing about that entire setup, as I quite literally choke, is you looked at how that went down, and I actually lost my thought mid-cough. Slasher, take it away.
I think what you're trying to say is that they had no business winning that point, and that Luminosity should have put that away, and instead they don't get the kills at the very end, and they're able to spawn back in because they have closer spawn. So they did, Rise put themselves in a good position to win this, because considering they shouldn't have even gotten the first one.
Yeah, and look, to be fair, there's a lot of pressure on you as a defending team on this first point. We often see it taken quite easily. We talk about this all the time, ZP, but it's a lot closer to the attackers than the defenders, right? So as attackers, you can whittle away the defenders. You don't even have to win the fight. You trade, 3 for 3 or whatever it's going to be, and that gives you a huge step up into the next fight here. So sometimes it's just a matter of throwing yourself at it until something sticks, and I definitely feel like that's what we saw from Rise Nation there, to at least get the point.
And certainly, an interesting thing, too, coming out from the LG defense and responding to that, is that LG took a big gamble going that far deep to try and fish things out. They could have waited a little bit longer and given up payload progress. And instead, they dove in. Now, if they had lost that gamble, that payload could have gone almost all the way to second, so it was risky, but it paid off.
Indeed. Now we're going to see Luminosity come forward. They know their objective is actually well within their sight and in grasp, but they need to win this fight. A beautiful opening there. Ube catches on towards Midnight. The key player here for Rise Nation in this series already out of the picture. However, Spirit tries to respond. Hook of his own, but Ube was shielded. It's just giving extra energy over towards Spree now to try and turn that damage back against Rise Nation.
And right now, LG with a dominant presence on the point. The respawns are going to be coming in far faster, and Icefeld dominating Retzi here, keeping him out of the fight, zoning him out. He's not able to add in that 76 DPS. And look at this, he's still getting chased down, not able to get anything done. Meanwhile, the point is being taken, and Uber, it's looking like Rise is going to have to settle for a very, very long hold here in the streets with not much longer to go. And I don't even know if they'll even get the chance.
This could be it. They're staggered out. There's only 3 players left, and the Earthshatter comes down just to secure that for Luminosity. Rise Nation there hope to try and make a last desperate attempt on the point, but they lost half their team in that fight, and then they lost the game because they couldn't even re-defend now. It's going to be going over towards Luminosity, who just showed that sometimes one Roadhog hook is all you need to win a map.
Well, particularly when you hook in Midnight of all people, who really has been one of the workhorses of this Rise Nation team, certainly was in that role yesterday. You're effectively getting the MVP of Rise in one fell swoop, and now you're forcing the rest of Rise to win a 5v6 scenario, which is already bad odds to begin with. There's nothing more you can ask for, and Ube definitely with some phenomenal hooks to keep his team in this. And look at back the first part overtime where he got that hook on the Tracer. They ended up losing the point, but it still was a big reason as to why there wasn't any snowball in that first fight.
Yeah, and look, we talked a little bit about over this series, Icefeld, his role on D.Va. It's clear to see that despite there were a couple missed ultimates and maybe less than ideal placing, he has a good understanding of what his role is, because he saw Retzi on that last attack and just made a beeline for him. And this is what D.Va's very good at doing right now. Cuts a Soldier 76 out of the fight entirely. It's almost impossible to win a 1v1 as 76 against D.Va unless the D.Va doesn't understand that she needs to get up close to you. So good work from Icefeld there, and did what he needed to do. As Slash just said, sometimes the D.Va just being on the team and being D.Va doing D.Va things is all you need.
You know, part of that is also because I believe that Luminosity went on the switches. Raya's going Tracer and Setsi doing a whole lot of work for us. Ube onto Farah to kind of try to counter that. And then as Setsi switched to McCree, which he did actually a pretty decent job against Ube's Farah, but there was still D.Va with Icefeld to deal with that. So because of that, Luminosity has a little bit of an easier time in those switches. Then he was able to go Mei, and that's what gave them an extra minute and a half in that overtime.
All right, so we do have the next map choice underway. Rise choosing to go to the Hollywood. And remember, we do have a classic 3-map set here. It is Hollywood, Kings Row, and Dorado in the pool. Kings Row done and dusted, but Hollywood now up and on the way. And LG going to be taking attack first. And coming in from LG here, how much can we expect to see them open with, say, a Farah to begin with? Ube, big fan of Farah early on. And for that matter, how much can we expect Rise to potentially expect this and come out with a McCree rather than, say, a Soldier, which we have seen Retzi come out with before on First Point Hollywood Defense?
Both teams have light going Symmetra on First Point here, and Farah has proven to be pretty good against Symmetra First Point. So if Rise does end up having Sim Ana, I think Luminosity goes Farah. But if they play a standard Ana Lucio or even Ana Zen, I kind of have to think Luminosity is going to quad tank again.
It's almost worth noting as well that if we do see a 2-2-2 composition coming out from Rise Nation, a Roadhog for Ube wouldn't be bad at all. I mean, you can catch a McCree, you can catch a Reaper. You know, obviously there's more viable targets for a Roadhog to sort of one kid. Obviously, Reaper a little bit trickier. And that's a possibility here. I mean, but we kind of know that Rise don't mind just playing the single Tracer and 3 tanks here as a bit of a default. Maybe just to try and adapt to what the enemy team's bringing. Maybe just as a coverall as well, to cover most of their bases until they really know what the attackers are going to be coming in with.
I mean, they look better with Tracer 3 tanks than they did yesterday. And because of how Tracer evolving as one of the kind of counters to the triple tank, quad tank setup, and him being a really good Tracer, Fessy is doing a lot of work on it, I think this is the way that they should probably be playing it.
The one thing I would like to see more from teams, just because I do think it is a very good combination, is that I think Tracer Symmetra has a lot of potential right now. And the reason is that Tracer, by how she works, she tends to delay your team as you go in. You have to really keep an eye on her for every inch that you take. If your team is delayed with your offense, that gives us Symmetra more time to build up for a shield generator or a teleporter. I think the combination of the two is very strong. We won't see too much of it yet, but the times we have seen, I feel like it's been pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't mind this. I wouldn't even mind seeing a Junkrat here as well, like we're seeing Hovered right now. This is actually something, I don't think Hitdown's going to play it, by the way, but you know, it's something we've actually seen from the Misfits, and obviously a couple of players from that roster.
Trolled, son.
I'd like to see
Getting
it.
trolled, son.
I want to see an attack from Junkrat. But no, look, in all seriousness here, not expecting to see a Widow. To see both teams play standard on a map like this is no surprise to me right now. No need to reinvent the wheel when you know it so well.
Well, we are seeing that standard quad tank setup come out here from the side of LG. Retzi get beyond this flanking Tracer. And look at his position right now. Again, set up to go after the backline. Goes in for Hitdown. Kind of wastes a clip there, though. Not the initiation he was looking for. Had a golden opportunity. Not able to capitalize. But still applying pressure to this entirety of the LG backline. And they're not even looking at him right now. But while they're not looking at him, they find Faz off Ube's hooks. So for now, it's working out for LG.
Again, Ube opening up a fight with the hook. Sometimes, like I said, it's all you need. But Desro winning out the Reinhardt battle, and that was because of the beautiful biotic grenade coming out from Locke. He eventually does go down, but Desro, as aforementioned, kept alive by his Ana. Now back on his feet, free to do a bit more damage. So much focus on the Will Spirit here, but he just takes a breather, and he's back and healthy again.
Midnight and Desro, the tanks of Rise Nation, able to pull that back. Retzi now going to be back to fight Wolf Pulse Bomb for the next fight. So, very nice recovery there from Rise after what could have been a very bad opening off that hook of Ube.
Chance here at least for Rise to just re-establish themselves. No interest in changing compositions here. They've got the Big Bang ZP, so that's big. That could easily win them another fight here. The odds of Icefeld eating that one up with the the future vacuum is pretty unlikely. If it happens, it'll be great, but it should be a pretty solid one here for Rise Nation.
Well, there is no Castle Curse. He does hit that right here. Big Bang combo coming in. Retzi taking down Spree. Everyone highly damaged as Midnight and Retzi go to clean up the scraps, and LG just going to be backing out there. And that's the interesting thing that we've seen evolve over time is that Zarya's have gotten far sneakier. There was a point where Zarya's only went for brute force. Now you have to expect, is there going to be a tank in a corner? It's not just Reapers anymore. If you think way back to the beginning of Overwatch, you have Zarya's being sneaky, Reinhardt's being sneaky, and those tank ultimates, if they hit you from a flank, can pretty much end your push.
Yeah, exactly. And we see it from Reinhardt all the time. We actually see it a lot on King of the Hill maps in Korea, for example. A lot of teams like to set up there and receive the next boost, but now, Whole Hog to initiate the fight. Ube does have a nano boost that's going to make this that much more devastating, but he's trading Whole Hog to cross, and it's a beautiful attack coming out from Desro. He catches the entirety of Luminosity in that one. Now the combo needs to be there. Luke tries to charge on it with Desro, but this is him in the middle of the fight, and this is just a perfect cleanup here for Rise Nation. Everything they needed, they got. And it's a solid win with 1 minute 30 now remaining on the clock for Luminosity to come up with something to break through them.
It was amazing how that set up, because normally when a Pharah gets a really good ult off, she gets it by being sneaky on the rooftops. Well, Desro was sneaky on the rooftops there, not by choice. He was knocked into the air by the Whole Hog, and then I feel like LG just took their eyes off him, came down off the top, and Earthshatter 5. But here we go, next fight underway. Graviton in from Spree to set things up here. Does not get any kills off immediately, and we see from the side of Rise, they're able to back off, and they're not avid as a counter Graviton comes right back in.
Yeah, counter Graviton actually even less effective than the first one there. Good healing from Rise to start the fight, but now it's on Midnight yet again. He's charged up, he's down a boost, he needs to do damage. He found Spree, he desuits Icebolt. Now looking for Ube up in the air, but Spirit's found Super Fluke as well. Somehow Rise Nation are defending this with the scraps of their team after the engagement for Luminosity. But you know what, ZP? It's enough to get the job done.
And the job might be fully done here in a moment. 33 seconds remaining. A lot of pressure now on LG to get forward here, because if you get full held, the odds of you winning the map go into the toilet. Ube gonna be flying in over the top. We'll have a barrage up in this fight, looking for a little bit more poke to set it up. A lot gonna be on him, Uber, as he moves in.
Yeah, big fight now coming in. Spirit going to open up with a Whole Hog to push everyone away, but he's put to sleep. Ube going to go with a reactive barrage here. Does catch out Spirit, and that's enough to break the deadlock here for now. It's Luminosity with a bit of momentum, with a bit of impetus, pushing forward. They're going to push Rise right inside the cafe now, and Lock of Midnight can't do anything but back away and wait and hope for reinforcements. Faz, though, not so lucky. Caught out for the rest of his team, put to sleep. He goes down.
Well, they have two tanks. They have an Ana. Rise Nation not going to give this up easily, but Midnight getting charged to the backline, not able to get Graviton off, and not even going to get the chance to shoot it as a Fire Strike finishes him off. LG, when their backs were against the wall and they had only half a minute remaining, get through, take the point, and now we'll see if they can regain some momentum here in the Streets phase.
A weird fight as well. I mean, we saw Ube actually with like a reactive barrage there as well earlier on, actually managed to catch the one kill. Sometimes, you know, they can be a little bit underwhelming. Maybe he was expecting more of a full-on engage from Rise Nation, but regardless, they got split up. They lost 3 players early on, and that was enough for Luminosity to snowball. And the good news for them is they've got a Graviton to be going on with here, but so do Rise Nation. Another double Grav fight will be very interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, Midnight right now is trying to be sneaky. Graviton going to be coming out from Spree first, so we'll see if Midnight even uses it. 100 HP, not a good position as Icefeld, self-destruct, comes in over the top, takes down 2. And Rise Nation, not a whole lot left. Locke does pick down Ube, but he's going to have to back out as he waits for his team to respawn. Rise Nation, one more fight away here from losing second.
Yeah, look, they do have the big bang combo to come into this fight with, so it's not all but lost, but they need to get better positioning to actually use that. Being forced inside the Goldster Studios can actually really cut off your line of sight and your angles to play from here, and that's why Desro is doing what he's doing now. Getting up, getting forward position, allow the rest of his team to get into combat. Midnight going to go in with the Graviton. It's a good one. Where's the Pulse Bomb though? Retzi trying to get there. there, but he's too late to the party. He's too late to even use that bomb there. He didn't catch enough with it. He got hit in though, and that might be enough. The Spirit gets his second for the fight.
The problem with the bomb there for Retzi is that he had to throw it long range because people are about to be out of the graviton. It's still going to work out here, and they still win the fight just from the disruption of that graviton, but the execution there, not super precise from Rise. They are lucky to get away with such a clean team fight the way that started.
In all fairness, though, they didn't really lose too many people there, so it's actually okay. You know, it doesn't really impact the. If they lost 3 people and barely won it because it was a rough pulse bomb, then we can sort of say it. But it's okay. But look at Retzi. Far forward, position now just to do damage from the backside. Maybe he doesn't even want kills here, but he does want to try and hang around and get his next pulse online as soon as possible. Support ultra available for Rise Nation. They've got that sound barrier. Mineral is missing his right now. It's an Earth Shatter from Super Fox. Keep your eyes out for that one. It could hurt.
Nano boost in here on Ube going to the backline. Barrage going to be up and on the way. Barrage in on the Roadhog, and he gets slept. That was a big mistake, not going for the Ana immediately there, and he pays for it as the rest of Rise just rushes into LG as Ube was in the back, and I don't know why he would have that level of target selection there. I mean, I guess he was worried about the hook, but realistically, the sleep dart is going to do just as much damage, and Ana at least dies quicker.
Really nice fight there from Faz as well. I mean, you still can get 3 kills. There's no, ledges to jump off. It's overtime now, but they can't get to the payload. No, it's going to be Rise Nation taunting Luminosity from afar. They know that their enemies won't get close enough to keep the game going, and they are going to hold Luminosity in that second stage. Just one checkpoint for them here, ZP.
And even though it's a little bit of a shame here for the side Rise where they were so close to getting the first point hold, they gotta feel pretty happy about getting it hold on second that far in. So for Rise, this is a very good opportunity to come back in and even up the series. And honestly, a lot of their play was rock solid. I felt like Midnight had a much better game compared to King's Row, all in all. And Retzi had some great moments flanking. So this defense that they're running with, where they use Retzi to come in off the flank and create opportunities for Midnight, Spirit, it's working out thus far.
And again, if you're the attacking team, or if you're Luminosity in that round, you have to ask yourself, what can we do to deal with Retzi? Sometimes it's not sufficient to go, oh, we've got a Roadhog, we can just hook him. We know that's not easy to do, but who then? Do you take a McCree to try and deal with this Tracer, which isn't a 100% situation? And even then, maybe McCree doesn't work so well against these big tanks. Maybe you want, another source of damage. Again, we do see Luminosity want to play 4 tanks. So in doing so, they don't give themselves the ability to deal with a flanking threat like Tracer. They've just got to grin and bear it.
I think that's why we went Fire, actually. And he's doing this because it's Retzi's Tracer. The issue is here on Hollywood more than King's Row is that Farah's going to have a tougher time. Especially in that second phase where, as we saw, Locke can sweep him and shoot him from afar and give Farah a lot more trouble than on King's Row, where Farah can kind of still work and exist even without Mercy. And if Ube is going to want to go for that type of counter, that's why they got stopped during the middle of the second phase.
Well,
all right, well, 15 seconds. Good. Dying.
All right, ZP's dying. I'll take the first start of the fight anyway. Luminosity here now know what they need to do. They really have to hold Rise Nation back. They've got that 1 map advantage here, so that is definitely going to bolster them somewhat. But a very disappointing amount of progress through the map means they've got to pull their socks up. The same classic comp we're used to seeing from Rise Nation now. It is going to be a few tanks with that Tracer in the mix. Let's see how they go up against the quad tank of Luminosity.
Well, Retzi right now going into the back line once more, but gets hooked in by Ube. And Ube, again, he's going to have to put more pressure on Retzi, but does find him for this first fight. And now, for Rise Nation, they're not going to have that flanking threat, which means that the opportunities here for Spirit to get hooks going to be far, far less. However, because the Tracer is down, he should be back in the fight sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're seeing Rise hang around a little longer. In fact, until Desro went down, Retzi's already back here. Hook didn't quite connect though by Spirit, so I think there's not really much excuse or reason for Rise to push any further forward. We do see Luminosity give some ground up though. They're backed away from that first choke, despite winning the fight here, and maybe a chance here for Rise to get around the back. You can see Retzi's already looking for flanking routes.
Hook from Spirit not going to connect here. He's going to get hit by that Ana grenade and actually have to back out. Not a great situation for Roadhog. Retzi into the back line, finds Yidan early on. Pulse Bomb going to be coming out, and he's getting on the Spree. Spree has to turn his attention, already out of shields, and meanwhile the rest of Rise coming in from the front. Self-destruct, not getting anything done here, and Rise with a whole lot of momentum here, Uber.
Yeah, Ube trying to go for the whole hook, but he gets taken down before he gets a full channel out. Asfeld in vain trying to escape from the Graviton Surge. It pulls him straight back in to his ultimate demise. Midnight now. Again, he's charged up in the fight. if you leave Midnight up throughout a whole fight, he will clean up. He will be one of the best cleanup heroes in the game with 100 charge, and we saw that there. 3 kills for him in the end of it, and it will be Rise take this first point, and they're well set up to take this map now. It's not long from here till they'll be done.
Now, Uber, let's talk about victory conditions here for a moment. When you look at Rise and the amount of time they have almost 5 minutes remaining. They don't even have to get all the way to second. What type of aggressiveness do we need to be seeing from the LG defense to even give them a shot of holding on here?
Well, it's all about target prioritization here as well. You can actually see now that Ube purposely trying to pick off Retzi as he does go ahead of his team. So now Luminosity are going to be very aware of that Tracer because she can break them in one fight. But the Earth Shadow coming in from Desro, there's another threat on the board. It was a hastily used sound barrier here to keep Luminosity alive, and Icefelt does his job yet again. 2 kills for him.
Icefelt was able to control the backline. Meanwhile, Super Pluke got Earth Shadow, knockdown 3, kept the rest of Rise out of the fight. But the problem is this is so far up that Rise is going to be able to get back in quickly. Normally it'd be better to hold maybe a little bit further back, make your team wipes a little bit more valuable. But given the situation LG has to hold in, they have to play this high impact defense that really gets in Rise Nation's face. And look at the Super Pluke. Get a dive in, was looking for the charge, doesn't connect. And both teams right now poking out as Retzi into the backline once more. Going to be looking to divert attention again.
Now you can see Luminosity try to collapse around Ube, but Icefeld at least gets 1 kill for it. It's Spirit to fall down, but Retzi has already made his mark in this fight here, picking up that crucial kill. Hidan fell to his hand. He's done a very good job of isolating and dealing with that. Anna, excuse me. Desro and Midnight now turn that fight around, and that's what happens when you lack that healing from the Anna and you let Midnight blast late into the fight with a lot of charge. Again, the Zarya from Rise Nation is the difference in this game, at least in the last few fights, and we've got a big bang coming right up ZP at the best time possible. One more fight may be all it takes here for Rise to take this map, and those 2 ultimates used in conjunction will be just what the doctor ordered.
And this is one of the scariest areas for a defensive defend. I think one of the only worst areas in the game is second point on Route 66, so Midnight now with a golden opportunity. Gonna be coming in from the back. Graviton is in. Will the pulse bomb follow through? Be there? No! Retzi taken out. Does not get... Or no, he does get the pulse bomb in before, but doesn't do as much as what he's looking for. Damage might have been done here, though, from the side of LG, but we're seeing Rise get pushed back.
Yeah, both Reinhardt's getting hooks there, but Ube much better from him. I think he managed to get the hook on towards Midnight and get him out of the fight there. Spree with the extra damage to get it done. That's not ideal at all here. You know, we talked about how, you know, just that combo of ultimates can be enough to win fights there. Retzi did stick the pulse bomb, but it wasn't quite enough, and he and Hidan ended up actually killing each other, I think posthumously from Hidan. So now, no ultimates, it's junk rush time. I really do think you want to set up for a good fight with ultimates. Don't worry too much if you lose this fight, but try and get as much damage done as you can if you're Rise Nation.
Retzi right now going in on the flank, drawing Ube's attention. Meanwhile, Desro winning that Reinhardt fight versus Super Pluke, and you're seeing the split attention here once more from Rise. They're going to build the sound bear. Both teams dropping the beat. All ultimates on deck as Desro in on the payload. Swing the hammer, drops the hammer, go throw Ube to the ground. Ube still in here though, is supported, is kept alive, as it is very even right now between both teams. Both Reinhardts slugging it out in the jail.
Desro getting on towards Mineral here as well, but now he's kind of caught out. He's eventually going to go down. The sooner the better. This time it was Spree, left alive late into the fight with a lot of energy charged up, doing a heck of a lot of damage. It's possible these teams don't have Zarya very high up on their chain of priority, but she's one of those heroes that is a ticking time bomb. You leave her late into the fight, she is going to really hurt, especially when you're lacking Reinhardt and other defensive mechanics on your roster.
Spree right now holding on to the Graviton Surge. 1:20 left. This has been a phenomenal defense here from LG. They've kept the hope alive, and now, Uber, they are 1, if not 2 team fights away from winning this map outright and having that defense. Spree right now looking for the Graviton, charging in. Doesn't like what he sees here thus far. The rest of Rise, they see coming in, they back out. But this is so good for LG because now it's leaving Rise with about 1 fight left. This could be it.
Yep, they bought some crucial time with Uber's preemptive whole hog there, and now the Graviton catches quite a few players in it there. Just Spirit actually, but Midnight now trying to do some work as well. Good little bionic grenade coming out from Locke, but it's not enough. The damage dealers of Rise aren't able to get the job done, and this is terrible. This is a situation where Rise were definitely going to be able to push this to 3 match, but now they risk losing the series if they don't win the next fight.
The one upside about that fight is that it was so decisive in favor of LG that Rise will get 1 final attempt at this. They do have a Graviton in the bank. Retzi might be able to build up a pulse bomb. He's going to have to do it mid-fight, but with 24 seconds left, they might be able to wait for the Uber, so Big Bang combo could be a thing here. Retzi and Midnight gonna get one more attempt to do this combo right.
Needs to happen. Retzi needs a little bit more damage before he can start the one off here, but you can see he's looking for it. He's in the back line, wants a bit of hit, and Graviton comes out a little bit early, perhaps? No. It's going to be Spirit gets on towards hit, and he gets his second. Now the clock is ticking, but the gears are turning here for Rise Nation. They're finding the kills when they need to, and this time it's Luminosity put in a desperate situation. Now they need to throw them off the payload here, and you can see that Uwe's taking a breather off towards the side. A crucial hook would be all he needs, but Desro saw him coming, knew he was going to be there. Shield comes up, he tries to go for a whole hog, shut down, desperation. Oh, it's not enough, and that is going to be it. Impressive stuff, but Rise Nation get there in the end.
And for Rise, that was scary. Rise had 5 minutes to get to that point, and they needed every last bit of it in the very end. They still struggled on solid combo execution throughout that game, but in the end, Midnight does land a good Graviton, sets up Spirit, and they're able to break through and force a map 3.
I mean, it was looking very, very close there, but winning that fight out was crucial. Again, the tanks, there were a lot of them in this game, but crucially, it was the Zayas that really made a big impact. Zayas and the Roadhogs, obviously, and Zaya's not really a one-hit kill potential hero. But again, if you leave them unchecked late into the fight, give them a lot of energy, they will come back to haunt you.
Yeah, Midnight's Gravitons did more than Spree's Gravitons in that map. And that was part of the reason they were able to hold on first point for Rise on defense, and more of the reason they were to get through on offense, even though it took them to the very end, which was pretty scary for Rise.
Alrighty, so that is going to bring us to our third and final map. We're going to be heading to Dorado. Definitely glad to see it. Didn't see too much of Dorado yesterday, but now we'll get to see teams going in on this and see what LG and Rise have up their sleeves for this map. And it's interesting because there's a point where teams were picking Dorado almost every series, so it does show that in Overwatch, map preferences do tend to change for teams over time. It feels like it goes in a cycle, if nothing else.
This is a map that Luminosity likes, though. So I do have them as like the favorite team here. They like playing this map when there's a map draft. They have a pretty good winning percentage here, and I think it's also going to be a little bit harder for Rise to run the Tracer. I mean, they were able to do it on King's Row, which I don't think is a great map traditionally for their Tracer 3 tank setup. So they probably have a little bit more trouble, I think, here.
Mate, I tell you what.
Hey, I muted that for the record. All they saw was me coughing there. I mean, I'm making the universal side for Team Liquid in a tournament right now, so don't worry about it.
All right.
But,
I mean, look, no, you're right. I think this is the kind of map as well that, as Slasher pointed out, we do see a lot from Luminosity on here. The way the strategy's evolved on this map has actually been, it's kind of been polarized, actually. It used to be that teams would actually get some progress by being a bit more aggressive on the defense side. They'd play Mei. They'd work around the choke points. They'd actually go all the way almost towards the attacking spawn and try and make something happen here. But D.Va now makes that very, very difficult because there's nowhere to run if you're too far forward. And D.Va initiations on this map, especially the first stage and the second as well, are going to be crucial to set up successful fights for the attacking team, which first up will be Luminosity.
And that's kind of a problem for LG because, again, as we've noted throughout the course of the series, Icefelt has struggled a bit on getting those good D.Va initiations off, and if you can't get that off, that's one of the key ways of actually breaking first, so Luminosity going to have to rely potentially on other methods, perhaps struggling more with the Zarya or otherwise. Meanwhile, you take a look at the defense, there is the Tracer Symmetra combo coming out here. Symmetra, of course, there's a point where she was used all the time here on First Point Dorado, then she fell out of favor, now back in favor, and the key thing here for me is going to be, can Retzi buy enough time for Faz to get that teleporter or shield generator up?
Well, again, you know, we talk about this quite often. If you don't have a shield gen or a teleporter after the first winning fight, then you need to be careful, because quite often now with ultimates charging a little bit slower, winning the first fight doesn't guarantee the second automatically, because you won't necessarily have an ultimate advantage from that, or at least a big one, enough where you can actually use them. So, you know, we do need to see Faz obviously get damage off his sentries, but also get up and close and personal and get some laser damage done, or throw some balls at the enemy team. The earlier he gets his ultimate, the better it's going to be, obviously, but especially as Symmetra on this point.
All right, so Offense in and on the way, and this is going to be a very heavy dive comp where they're just going to be looking to catch Rise off guard. And I actually like the dive comp versus Tracer defense because the Tracer takes a while to set up in many cases, and if you just go full in on the front line, you're not giving Tracer really time to set up for that perfect engage. So this might work out very well versus Rise, but if they fail, they're almost certainly going to be giving Faz his ultimate.
Oh, Spirit tries for a hook there, and you can see Luminosity working up towards the side, and Icefelt wasting no time getting in towards the backline. This is what he does. He's a DPS player. Naturally, it's where he feels more comfortable, but Retzi just beats him at the post there. A little bit too strong, and look at this. It's going to be a lot of damage coming out, even from Faz, but dying early in that fight means that he won't be able to build up too much more of his ultimate percentage. Like I said, we did see Rise Nation win the fight, but they don't necessarily have an ultimate advantage going into the second.
No, not all. We do see Spree swapping off on the Pharah of all people, and this is very interesting because we see Spree, we've seen him on Zarya almost exclusively, taking to the skies now on Pharah, which is usually Ube's job, but Ube on the Genjis, so even more aggression coming out here from the side of LG, and I mean, good for them. Faz is not on the Symmetra anymore, going to Lucio, but with Super Pluke diving in and getting taken out immediately, this is already off on the bad foot.
Yeah, and you don't want to... Okay, the stakes get higher the more fights you lose against a team with a Symmetra there as well. Faz actually switched off it here, interestingly enough, just favouring a little bit more mobility for his team to react, because he sees Luminosity are trying to engage. They want to come around the right side towards the fountain, and obviously Faz being able to, you know, teleport his team around, and also give protection to Locke, especially in the case of Icefelt, who will be diving on that Ana frequently. A boop will be very, very important to get the Tracer out of your face, at least to buy you some time to deal with her.
Alright, so Rise right now, they have built up more of an ultimate advantage here. Desro with the Earthshatter at the ready, ex-Retzi holding on to the Pulse Bomb. Interesting stuff, Retzi wants to be called Retzi, but he still has not gotten rid of the X, so
the X is
that's
silent,
on him.
Apparently.
The X is supposed to be silent, but right now he is here on the flank, looking for his opportunity. Not going in just yet, actually under pressure from the flankers of the offense, but what's going on? Spirit finds Spree, and the defense going to be counter-engaging.
Yeah, Spirit just hooks Spree straight out of the air there. No chance for the Pharah to get anything done here. And Luminosity looking absolutely impotent so far in this map. The Pharah pick is not yielding any results at all. Spree straight over towards a Zarya. Ube straight over towards a Roadhog. When all else fails, stack your team with tanks and hope to get something done. But Mineral now, interestingly enough, switching to the Zenyatta. Going over towards that pick. Now Retzi, it's going to be a lot easier for him to blow up both supports on the side of Luminosity if he can get into the back line.
Alright, so Midnight right now, almost with that Graviton Surge, going to be looking for the early initiation here in just a moment. Actually struggling to get that last 2%, does finally pick it up. And now just waiting for his opportunity. Getting around the wall, looking for line of sight. Gets to the back line, Graviton Surges in. Lucky it wasn't Ian, and gonna pull in 4 people. Retzi in with the big bang, only takes out Spree, but the damage has been done. Desro pushing them back, and the offense gonna have to look this up here once more, Uber, but they only have one more shot at this.
Yeah, got to be careful there. Ube catching Spirit may have opened up an opportunity for Luminosity to come forward here, and they're going to have to, ZP. They've got an Earthshatter to work with. Desro tried to get one off, but Super Pluke was very cleverly making sure he kept his shield up and jumping back. Even though he knew the fight was lost, he never turned his back and ran. He made sure he could shield off the Earthshatter coming from Desro. So now, he's got one of his own. Earthshatter advantage means a lot, and now the Nano Boost on the right half for Super Pluke. Oh, he's put to sleep. He's woken up prematurely, though. Bit of a mistake there. This might cost Rise Nation.
Rise right now struggling to stay in this. Retzi, though, still in it, in the back. No one on him, but he's also not doing too much at the same time. Meanwhile, Midnight, 50% charge right now, looking for a little bit more, just eating into this Diva as she's in and out. But you look at the flow of battle here. Rise still getting pushed back, unable to really get positioning or momentum, and they're hoping that Spirit can pull it back as Roadhog. Does get taken out, though, as, again, Rise struggling to kill anyone here.
Yeah, and now Ube just has his choice of targets right now. Again, Midnight, the panic button is hit. It's going to be Midnight coming in with the Nano Boost as well as being very charged up, but a very clever Transcendence coming out from Mineral. He switches in the out just for that point. Gonna work out. Retzi comes in, gets some damage done. The Graviton coming at just the right time for Midnight as he falls down, but it's Retzi on the payload all on his own, and eventually he will fall. Eventually Luminosity get that first checkpoint, but it was hard fought to get there.
The one thing that I really like about Rise Nation going across the maps here thus far is that they do have a certain consistency to their defense where even if they do end up getting capped on throughout the map, they really make the most out of the time. They make their opponents grind things out. LG right now only with 2 minutes left remaining because of how much time was bought on point A. And now we'll see if LG can pull this back. A lot of it's going to depend on if Spree can land a good Graviton here and get them with good momentum here on second.
Graviton there as well. Jesmo was baited off the edge. The rest of Rise Nation are going to be caught up in that one pretty comfortably there. A few ultimates were committed to that fight, I'll be honest with you, but they worked out. Locke now realizes he needs to turn tail and just get back in position. He knows there's nothing he can really do to save Spirit, although he does get a kill before he goes down. It's not going to stop the momentum here for Luminosity. That was a very good opportunity there for Rise to actually win the game outright. You win one fight on this stage, have time to set up, have ultimates, it could be done and dusted. But the road is still long for Luminosity. They still need to get outside the power plant here, and they've got 1 minute and 25 to do it.
And the thing that's going to make it troubling is, again, you look at the ultimates that are up here, Rise does have, not, I wouldn't say an advantage, but they're competitive here, and they will have slightly better position going in, and you have to respect Desro's Earth Shatter as you come in and look for that. So pretty much every fight a must-win right now for the side of LG, and Retzi right now getting in on Ube. We have the Tracer vs 76 battle in the back, one-on-one action, and Retzi gonna win that one-on-one. Now free with a Pulse Bomb, coming in over the top, looking for that Pulse Bomb, might have the Ana in his sights, just putting in the damage in over the top, and I think he might save this here, Uber, and just save it for what could be one final fight.
Absolutely no need to engage. With Ube down, Luminosity were happy just to back away, or maybe not happy, but they had no other choice. And obviously from up on high, Retzi could see they were already backing off. No need to throw a Pulse Bomb into that, but there'll be a chance soon. There'll even be an Earth Shatter combined. This is a great moment now for Rise. They've got 4 ultimates locked and loaded, ready to go, and 2 defensive ones to boot. So this should mean it should be a solid fight for them. Luminosity may not know this, but this is a must-win fight right here and now.
20 seconds remaining, and here comes Retzi creeping in the back. Support's almost certainly going to be one of his main targets, and no, he sees Ube right now. Not gonna be able to do much with the nano boost coming in. Ube in over the top, doesn't have any ultimates, but what an Earth Shatter in from Desro. Sets up Retzi. 2 unanswered kills as Rise Nation sets themselves up for what should be a nice second point hold.
Yeah, beautiful stuff there from Rise Nation. Once again, a very solid defense in the second stage of one of these payload maps. We saw the same from them in Hollywood, and even though it was a little bit rusty on their attack, they were still able to do this. So that's something I'm really impressed about from them. And Retzi at large in the backline constantly. You saw he didn't even have to use the Pulse Bomb on the main targets in that fight. The damage was already done when Desiree hit a killer Earth Shadow.
Slasher, what did you see there from the defense of Rise, and in your opinion, why was it working out so well? Was it just the Tracer pressure here on Dorado that is difficult to deal with?
I mean, I really believe so. Retzi's just doing so well, and especially during that second point of Dorado, Tracer actually is a pretty good pick. First point is a little bit harder for her to get a lot done, and Luminosity actually did pretty good if Faz wasn't able to get Teleporter or Shield Gen up before they were able to take first point, but it's Retzi's playing well. And really the X factor, I think, for Rise in this series and in this tournament is going to be Spirit, because when we talk about them going 2-2-2, him being the other DPS player, traditionally playing better in DPS heroes, but he's having a very good series so far on Roadhog and doing enough that it's giving Luminosity a lot of trouble. And then they were switching Ube off into Soldier and onto Pharah and onto other things just to deal with its Retzi, and they're not able to do with the rest of Rise.
Well, you bring up a good point in terms of Ube really being all over the place with what he's switching to, and I'm not sure the switches have been that effective. The Pharah swap off that came here too, I'm not sold that that's the right answer to having a Tracer in your back doing all sorts of work. I feel like the idea there is that you're going to be doing more damage to them than the Tracer can do to you, but that wasn't really how that worked out.
And that's not how you counter, by the way. You know, when you see and identify a threat on the enemy team that is causing you problems, you need to deal with that threat. You don't just try and outdo them. That's not how this game works. You need to try and shut them down. And a Pharah, it's a projectile DPS doing damage from far away against a Tracer who can blink around the map and is very mobile. Sometimes it's just hard to deal with a Tracer as Pharah in general.
First fight here getting underway. Spirit looking for that early hook, and the defense here pretty standard. Not going to spend too much time here and on the outside. Much safer to defend in the courtyard and make the offense come to you in this particular situation. But again, Retzi on the Tracer has not really felt much of a need to swap in the backline already. Taking down this Metro turret's going to really hurt her ability to get an early ultimate off here. And again, this is something they have to deal with. Ube's attention already drawn to the back, and while this is going on, Spirit is able to find Super Fluke.
He's done his job. He found the Reinhardt, got rid of it. Now Retzi can pretty much move unadulterated through the backlines here to find these key targets. Still, Ube's in the fight. He has a hook, but Mineral going down here as well. Retzi able to find him, and the payload is very, very strong positioning here for Rise Nation. Ube's got to come back, but he does lay in the flanking hop on towards Midnight, and Faz can only really just try and sneak this payload a little bit closer. Lock definitely not going to be bothering that one as well. A little bit tough for him to die there. The Spirit was looking to try and back him up, and there might have been a chance at least for some kills on the backside there for Rise.
For Rise, though, I feel like you gotta be pretty happy with that first push. You've almost gotten the payload entirely through the courtyard in one go. If you have even a remotely decent fight now, you're going to get first outright. You're very close to getting Graviton up, so is Spree for that matter, but Midnight is typically even doing a little bit better in these Zarya battles, so it's a good situation. Both Reinhardts going in. Desro going to be taking out Mineral, and Spree going very far out here with the Graviton will be successful. But the problem is, how much time does this really buy LG when you wipe them that far out? They're going to be back in with ultimates of their own.
Yeah, again though, you see that, LG still have 4 ultimates to use. They only use 1 in that fight. So if you see a team that, doesn't try and pile ultimates on top of just the Graviton Surge, they're trying to be somewhat conservative here. One ult to win a fight, in my opinion, is high value. Normally it's 2 is what you want to aim for when you need to bleed them out here. So Graviton, that's okay, because it's an Earth Shatter, there's a self-destruct here for LG, but you're right. We do see it quite a lot for Rise Nation. Let's see if they're using
it's Eden! The Graviton is in by Diva there. Midnight went for the supports, was utterly denied, and we'll see if Rise Nation can bring this back, but Midnight falls, does not get anything done, and it's going to be up to Retzi now to be a hero as he darts in and around.
Yeah, not effective use of ultimates coming out from the side of Rise Nation now. More needs to be done, and they don't have any left themselves. You can see Icefeld and Superfluke are still standing here. That's the heavy armored core of Luminosity. And we just see a complete and utter rout here. It is going to be retreat for the moment for Rise Nation. And they're running low on time. They really need to get towards this next point. I guess the light at the end of the tunnel, the good fact is that they've burnt through a lot of these ultimates on the side of Luminosity. Icefeld does have a self-destruct, but I don't know. I'm not super confident about his ability to win fights with them on his own.
Icefeld has yet to prove that he can get good self-destructs off consistently, but what redemption would be for him here, Uber, if he is able to land it with only a minute left remaining. He is going to get hooked in, though, early on. Still supported by his team, able to take down Desro, and now with Reinhardt down, this is really going to leave Rise with just one singular good push remaining.
Lacking Desro coming forward in this fight, that's really, really bad. They needed that Reinhardt to be the spearhead of this push, as he always is. That's the point. And with the Graviton here from Spree, he can pretty much tie this fight up in his own. If they want to go for the combo, the Graviton Surge and the self-destruct from Icefeld, then be my guest, because it's only 34 seconds. Rise Nation have to find the answer.
And now they're gonna have to go through the Graviton and Spree here. Spree looking for his opportunity. Does not have to worry about this Graviton being Eden. Way less pressure on it, and there it is. Graviton pulling in everyone on this Rise squad, and the fall through is there. They're gonna fall in that gravity vortex. 15 seconds remaining, Uber, and that might be it.
Yeah, Retzi can't do anything on his own. He done got 3 kills in that fight because, of course, a Biotic Grenade dumped on a team inside a Graviton Surge is going to be devastating. There was a sound barrier used there from Rise Nation, but all the healing in the game is not enough to save you from a self-destruct. Now, last push, overtime, this is where it matters.
And right now, this is a Hail Mary pass if there ever was one from Rise. They swap to something that's more dive. Their 2 flankers already down early on this fight as Desro looking for the miracle here on Winston. But Winston, not necessarily the hero that's going to make plays when you're in a 1v4 situation. You are just going to die, and LG will hold on. The defense from Rise here on Dorado was magnificent. The defense from Luminosity, however, was sublime. Better on the first point. They're able to hang on, and they will go to the upper bracket finals.
I mean, not much to say there, really. I honestly think that the attack there from Rise Nation was a little bit slack. Maybe we're hoping that Retzi is going to do too much, or expecting a lot from him as well. Your tank core really needs to be getting damage done. Uber constantly pulling out key players from Rise Nation. So before the fight even starts, you're at a man disadvantage. Now, you need to respect that. You should know that that's going to be a factor in these fights, and you should sort of prepare and defend accordingly to that kind of thing. But too many times that was happening, and then Alt Economy got rolling. Luminosity, how were they needed at the right time? And honestly, in a great part, it was also Rise Nation putting themselves in a position where their must-win fight was at a huge ultimate disadvantage.
And the other thing that was real unfortunate too is that overall, when you looked at Rise's offense over the course of that Dorado, they really felt a little bit confused in how they wanted to gauge that, and there was no better example of that confusion than Midnight, where he dove super deep, even by Zarya standards, trying to get on the 2 supports, and telegraphed it so hard that Icefeld was able to just walk up, gravity up his vortex and save his supports and stop Midnight from doing anything on that particular fight. And it was sort of a microcosm of the entire attack for Rise, in my opinion.
I mean, they put themselves in a good position to be able to win that map and that series, by the way. They played defense, and I think their best opportunity to win Dorado was probably their first push. And Ube gets like 2 to 3 kills at the end, including a flank kill, and he really helped solidify their defensive Luminosity. So I think it's actually a big win for them. When they got put on the ropes for Rise had an opportunity to close it out, and Luminosity was able to bounce back and end the series.
All right, so next matchup going to be heading our way in just a moment. In the other end of the upper bracket semifinal, it's going to be Spicy Boys versus Hammers Esports. And guys, just a few thoughts on this before we go to break and bring in Hex and JCap. But I am very excited for this matchup. Both of these teams, new teams, both chat favorites. They're going to clash in just a few moments.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I mean, I don't want to call this a battle of the rookies because it's honestly not. I mean, there's players on both teams that have been around for quite some time. But Hammers has been very impressive. No one really expected them to come out the gate. Okay, maybe Slasher did. But the rest of us didn't expect them to come out the gates in the way that they did yesterday. You know, we bring teams into the Alienware monthly melee, you know, every month. You know, we bring some teams up from tier 2 or newer teams that are forming. And rarely do they perform so well. I can't really think of too many monthly melees where those new teams have really wrecked everyone. But Hammers dominated their group there. And Spicy Boys also had that X factor as well. We've seen them play very, very strong. So, in my opinion, this was the match I'm most excited for in this tournament, now knowing what day one had in store.
Alrighty, well, we're going to be going to a break. When we come back, that matchup will be heading right at you. I'm going to go try and restore my health because, man, have I been struggling more so than I wanted to today. Bronchitis, it's a thing. But stay tuned. Lots of great sets coming your way.